Not a sellout crowd, but a very good crowd at Ford Field in downtown Detroit, Michigan. Jim Zorn, 56 years old, out of Cerritos, California, in his second year as head coach of the Washington Redskins. An even .500 record at 9 up and 9 down. 43-year-old Baltimore, Maryland native Jim Schwartz spent the last 8 years as defensive coordinator under Jeff Fisher in Tennessee. It's his first season as an NFL head coach.
Well, it's interesting, these two young men, their approaches to the game, how they got here. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But these are two, in my opinion, two of the better young coaches in this league. Great deal of focus, great deal of passion for the game.
The Lions have won the toss, selected to receive. You got to look at the rookie Aaron Brown, number 21, waiting on the kickoff from Sean Sweezum. A very interesting matchup here in week 3. Sweezum spins it away, and this is Aaron Brown, 2 yards deep from his own end zone, and is bottled up at the 13-yard line. Stopped there by Reed Doughty. So here comes 21-year-old Highland Park, Texas native Matthew Stafford, the #1 pick in the NFL draft out of the University of Georgia. Has hit on 51% of his passes through his first 2 games in the NFL. Through his first touchdown pass last week, he has thrown 5 interceptions. They marketed the 14, and on first down, running room for Kevin Smith. That'll be a gain of 9. A good start for Smith and the Detroit Lions offensively. We take a look at their starters here today. Smith rushed for nearly 1,000 yards. As a rookie a season ago, the big target is Calvin Johnson.
Well, in order to get Calvin Johnson cranked up, they've got to get the ball in the hands of Smith and the young tight end Pettigrew so that they can force attention to those guys so they can get the ball to their big gun, Calvin Johnson.
Second down, less than a yard. Stafford's first throw is dropped by the rookie tight end, Brandon Pettigrew. Washington defensively finished 4th overall in the NFL in total defense last year. They're off to a good start this year. Of course, they brought in Albert Haynesworth from Tennessee as a free agent. Linebacking core led by London Fletcher, their top tackler since coming to the Redskins from Buffalo 2 years ago. And in the secondary, Rogers and D'Angelo Hall, the corners. Horton and LaRon Landry, the safeties. On third down, not sure they got the first down on the give to Jerome Felton. Now Felton is pointing first down. They only needed about 1.5 feet.
I think what he's saying is let's go for it, which backed up on your 25-yard line. I love the personality of it. He's saying first down. This is how desperate the Lions need this. They're gonna take some chances today, Tom. I think they may do some things, and Jim Schwartz senses that this is the day. We may see them do some things like going for on a 4th down in an unconventional place.
Lions were drilled in their season opener by Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints. They played much better last week in a loss to Brett Favre and the Minnesota Vikings. Smith off to the right side and picks up 3. 2nd and 7 next for the Lions.
And I don't think you can dismiss who they had to open up with, Tom. You're talking about the hottest offense in the league in the New Orleans Saints and Drew Brees, and then coming back to maybe the best team in the NFC, the Minnesota Vikings. This was not an easy start for a struggling up-and-coming Detroit Lions team.
They'll give it to Smith again, and Haynesworth able to come down the line and make the tackle after a gain of 2. So another third down, a manageable third down coming up for Matthew Stafford. Your impressions of this #1 pick out of Georgia, Coach Billick?
Got all the tools. There's no reason Matthew Stafford will not do well in the NFL. The question becomes, how long is this going to take? This is exactly the down and distance that he's got to convert on to show that he can lead this team, because ultimately his leadership is going to stem from his production.
Saw the numbers on third down conversions through the first 2 weeks. They're not pretty. Stafford lets it fly, caught by Brian Johnson, but defended beautifully. Dennis Northcutt, I beg your pardon, on the reception. But great defense by the Redskins. A nickelback Fred Smoot on the tackle, and Detroit punts it away.
Nick Harris is in punt formation. And back for Washington, Antoine Randall.
Nick Harris on to punt for Detroit. Antoine Randall stands at his own 20 for the Redskins.
Looks like the left side of the line move. These are the little things that when you're a struggling team like the Detroit Lions, we'll see the call here from Scott
False
Green.
start. Offense, number 84. 5-yard penalty. 4th down.
It's the attention to detail Jim Schwartz is just going to be pounding away at. That's a little thing. Okay, it's not going to affect the punt that much, but it's those little things that the coach drives the coaches nuts, because that little thing later in the game can cost you a game.
So Harris backs up 5 yards, stands at his own 15. Randall moves up 5 yards and stands at his own 25. Fair catch at the 24. Jason Campbell and the Washington Redskins, their first possession of the game. Over his career, Campbell has been an accurate passer at 60% in his career. This year, he's at 69%. High snap, and down goes Campbell. A penalty flag comes in. Jason Hunter getting a start for the injured Cliff Averill came in to sack Campbell, but we'll see if this is a face mask.
Personal foul. Grabbing the face mask. Number 97 defense. 15-yard penalty. 1st down.
See, that's what I'm talking about here. You have a great play to open the series. Beats the tackle with a high pass rush. Obviously, the errant snap had something to do with it, but then, and didn't do it on purpose, but Hunter reaches up, gets a little bit of face mask. Now it's a 15-yard penalty. These are the little things we keep coming up with the Detroit Lions that, and as a coach, you worry about, do my players start believing they're snake bit? Here we made a great play, and now it's a 15-yard penalty. You can't let them give in to that kind of self-pity, self-doubt.
Slow to get up is the rookie Sammy Hill, and he gingerly limps off the field. That is not a good sign on a couple of fronts for the Lions. Murphy's Law, you get a sack, but a face mask in the process to cost you 15. And then one of your starting defensive linemen goes down with an injury on the very first play on defense.
And Detroit really counts on a liberal substitution along its defensive line. They've got some guys that are up there in years, so they need those bodies to roll these defensive linemen through.
That's Landon Cohen out of Ohio University, replacing the injured Sammy Hill. Campbell steps up, throws, catch is made by Santana Moss. Only the 6th catch in the early part of this season for Moss, but that one is a big one, crossing into midfield.
And this is one of the things they talked about. They know they've got to get Santana Moss geared up a little bit more. To only have 5 catches, even though they've moved the ball well in their first 2 games, he's a big, you get the ball in his hands, he makes big things happen. They got to get the ball in his hands more.
This is Clinton Portis, who rushed for almost 1,500 yards last season, 4th most in the NFL. Off to a slow start thus far this year. He really hadn't gotten the ball a great deal. 16 carries in week 1, 19 carries last week. Portis, Sellers, and Cooley, all Pro Bowlers a season ago. So too for the left tackle Chris Samuels. You talked about this group in transition. Chad Reinhardt makes his first career start today, replacing the injured Randy Thomas at right guard. Devin Thomas lunges ahead for a first down, and the Ann Arbor, Michigan native, his first catch of the day and his first catch of the season. Talked about injuries, plenty of those for Detroit. Averill already out. Sammy Hill just left the game a moment ago. Larry Foote, a big free agent acquisition coming over from the defending Super Bowl champion Steelers. And changes in the secondary. Anthony Henry starts. William James starts. Phillip Buchanan does not. Moss inside the 30. Down to the 22, and Washington moving the football down the field on its opening possession.
So far, Jason Campbell and Santana Moss seem to have that rhythm that you love. Just a quick little stab fake to get the will linebacker to step up, get the ball in the receiver's hands cleanly, and allow him to make a big play. Right down around this area now, Chris Cooley may come up. They were talking about a little nod corner, then going to the post. You may see a red zone shot here by Campbell and the Redskins.
Campbell steps up and overthrows a wide open Santana Moss inside the 5.
Well, this was the problem last week against St. Louis. Dropped passes in the red zone. There were 2 last week. Not that this was an easy catch, but you can see the numbers here. They're down there plenty of times to make a big impact, but when you actually come away with only 2 TDs with that many trips in the red zone, then you're going to start scratching your head and wondering.
And bear in mind, one of those touchdowns came on a fake field goal attempt on a touchdown run by the holder Hunter Smith. The other came in the final 2 minutes of the game against the Giants when New York was nursing and protecting a 14-point lead.
False start. Offense, number 74. 5-yard penalty. Second down.
And here's the problem in the red zone, Tom. As everybody knows, once you get down to this part of the field, this is a very tight area here. Everything gets compressed. Everything happens faster. Corners take different alignments in terms of they don't have the same deep threat. Linebackers don't get as deep. It really makes it tough, and you have to have a real orchestrated game plan that accounts for the different spots in the red zone.
Two tight ends set for the first time. Was the catch made? Yes. Down at the 9-yard line by Malcolm Kelly. That's a gain of 18. It's 1st and goal for Washington.
Great timed throw by Campbell to Kelly. When you talk to the coaches about Malcolm Kelly, he's a 2nd-round draft choice last year out of Oklahoma. Their eyes light up. But right now it's all about potential. I learned a long time ago, son, your potential can get me fired. This guy's all about potential. There's no reason he can't be a great receiver.
Short drop lofted to Kelly. Incomplete.
And his size down here, you would think Malcolm Kelly and Chris Cooley would be big targets in the red zone. Tight ends traditionally down the red zone. Cooley, a very crafty tight end. Kelly's got the size. Eventually, as we said also, though, at some point you got to run the ball well in the red zone. I'd be surprised if we didn't have a good, solid run here. They're in the gun, which might indicate pass, but I'd be surprised if they didn't hand off a little trap or a draw here.
Liddell Betts checks in for Portis. And a delay to Betts. And not much running room, a gain of 2. Of course, the play calling has very much been questioned. Jim Zorn, once they've gotten inside the red zone, one of their 5 trips last week, and really you disregard the 5th. They were taking a kneel down to sell a win. But in the other 4 trips, on one of the 3rd down calls, they had Clinton Portis throwing a pass.
Yeah, and that's one of those things. If it works, you're a genius. If it doesn't, you're an idiot. Because that's the lens we look at things in the NFL. Jim Zorn very readily saying, I've got to look at what I'm calling down here as well, not just putting it all on the players.
Jason Campbell says timeout. Further magnifying the struggles inside the red zone through 2 games this year for the Redskins. Their overall 3rd down conversion rate is quite good.
This down and distance, Chris Cooley right over here. It's got Chris Cooley written all over it.
Portis sniffing the end zone, does not get there. course, the play that caused so much discussion in the nation's capital and have such a great fan base was on 3rd and goal at the St. Louis 5. They had Clinton Portis throwing the pass to the back of the end zone to Cooley.
And this is the coach in me burn up when I see that. Let's see, they looks like they're going for it. You know, and Jim Zorn, this is a direct function of catching that grief. We've got to come away with touchdowns. He's setting the tone for his team right here with this call.
Running here, it's a 2-yard line or no?
Probably a quick play fake. Look for the corner flat.
Timeout by
Detroit's
Detroit.
not ready. Caught him off guard. Always an interesting call on the goal line. I think Jim Zorn wants to prove to his offensive line we can smash this thing in, but Jim Schwartz knows that. I think they have a total sellout defensive run stopping call defensively. Might be a good place for a little play action fake, but I think they run it to set the tone for this offensive line.
3 tight ends check in for the Redskins. Sellers leads away for Portis, and it looks like he has denied the end zone.
This is what I'm talking about, a sellout run defense. Everybody's heading downhill immediately. You sell out one way or the other on the goal line, you're not going to stop this run unless you're predetermined to do so. Leaves yourself vulnerable to play action pass, but if you call the right D against the right run, you end up with the ball all but on your own 2-yard line. Wow, 1-yard line. Yeah, this is big. Now, what are you going to do with this, Detroit?
Has had another mistake along the offensive line.
Actually, I think they're going to call this on the defense.
Encroachment, defense, number 64, 5-yard penalty, first down.
From the first day of practice, you always teach your quarterback hard count backed up on the 1. What are you going to lose, a half a yard to try? And defenses know that. They're telling each other, hard count, hard count. They just fell for the hard count.
That was Kedrick Golston. So a little bit of breathing room, not much. The collar still a little bit tight. Play fake to Smith, throw it to Smith. And depending on the spot, on a 1st and 5, he's very close to a first down. Maybe about a foot short.
Matthew Stafford was looking for Calvin Johnson. They've got to get him more involved. But you can already tell Washington's rolling their coverages, double bracketing the big man. That's what I was alluding to earlier. Kevin Smith, Brandon Pettigrew, these guys have to show up with the inevitable one-on-one coverage they're getting to take pressure off what they can do to stop your big gun in Calvin Johnson.
Well, they'll bring out the chains for a measurement. Oh, that close.
It's hard to place the ball that close, Tom. I always used to get on. You know, that's hard to do. You couldn't make that a half an inch either way. Sometimes, you know, that's just the paranoia in that. But I also always believe that just because I'm paranoid doesn't mean they're not really after me. You know?
Are you suggesting that any of you NFL coaches or former coaches get a little paranoid?
No, not in the least.
I didn't think so. 2nd down, first man through is Felton, and he has a first down.
First down, Lions.
And that doesn't seem like much, but that's a big first down. Anything that gets you out of the shadow of your goal line. Part of the reason you'll go for it on 4th down on the goal line. My defense can hold you there. It typically leads to points if a team has to punt. But now they've gotten a first down. They're getting a little bit of breathing room. In that regard, Washington guessed wrong.
Little delay to Smith, and he is tripped up close to the 20-yard line. A gain of 7. A good start for Kevin Smith in his 2nd year out of Central Florida. 3rd-round draft pick last season. He was the Lions' leading rusher and did not become the regular starter until the 10th week of the year. Rushed for 976 yards and was their 2nd leading receiver. He caught 39 balls out of the backfield.
And that's usually not a good thing. That means you haven't been able to get the ball down the field the way you'd like.
That looked like Hainsworth, who jumped. Was he drawn offside?
I'm impressed with Matthew Stafford's manipulation of the snap count. I don't know if you could hear it at home, but he's staggering that account. You know, let's listen to it. Let's listen. You can hear the stutter in his count.
Offside.
Even the little got away with a little bit of a head bob there. You know, you work on that with a young quarterback and multiple snap counts, a hard count, and then they get in the game and everything's on one. So this young man, we saw it backed up on the 1 yard line. You saw it there. He's working the snap count a little bit, much like a veteran. That shows me a little poise on the young quarterback out of Georgia.
So the offsides gives the Lions a first down. Play fake to Smith down the middle of the field, and he overthrew an open Brandon Pettigrew. Perhaps a little more air under that ball.
Absolutely, Tom. A little flat pass. I like Brandon Pettigrew out of Oklahoma State. He's got long arms, and that's a big sweep spot. That's a big area for the quarterback. But watch how flat the trajectory is. That does not. You got to have something that drops it in over the top. Give him a chance to run to the ball. That's a hard catch in that closer quarters.
Well, Stafford is a classic drop back passer, a very strong arm. He had questionable accuracy at the University of Georgia. Quick hit and dropped by Brian Johnson. All righty, thank you very much, Kurt. We saw the Vikings in week 1. Favre looks to be getting better and better each successive week. Had a big day against the Lions in that victory last week. 3rd down and 10 for Stafford. Steps up, throws. First down to the 43-yard line on the catch by Dennis Northcutt. That's a good throw by Stafford.
No one's ever questioned this young man's arm strength. You alluded to the accuracy here. Just a quick little, he scans left side. This is not an easy throw. Well timed, hard ball. It's got to be very accurate on an outside throw because your margin for error is very, very small. No one's questioned the arm strength. It is the accuracy. The adage today, if they're inaccurate in college, they're going to be inaccurate in the NFL. That's the thing he's going to have to work through.
Smith cuts it back to the inside and is close to midfield. Tripped up by Rocky McIntosh. A gain of 5.
Well, offensive coordinator Scott Lanahan, the former head coach of the St. Louis Rams, is trying to keep a good balance. He knows that that's going to be the best way for Matthew Stafford to develop. You're seeing a good balance of run, play fake, giving this young man all the tools he can to run a complete game.
Screen to Maurice Morris, and the former Seahawk bangs his way inside the 40 down to the 39. A gain of 12 and another Detroit first down.
You can see it just those last 3 plays. A shot down the field, have a run play, fake the run, come back with the screen. He's doing everything to keep this good Washington Redskins defense off balance.
Closing in on the 3-minute mark in the opening quarter. No score. And on first down, the Lions to throw it. Stafford steps up and trying to come back behind the defender and make the catch is Brian Johnson. It falls incomplete. Good coverage by Chris Horton.
Chris Horton defending on the play.
A lot of what Stafford is doing in the passing game is coming off a play action fake, trying to get those linebackers, those very active linebackers of the Redskins, McIntosh, London Fletcher, to sit in that mid-level. Don't get a deep enough drop so I can get these intermediate routes in behind.
Pretty good start for Stafford. Hitting on 4 of 8. 2nd and 10. Smith, a big carry. Inside the 35, down to the 32. So a very manageable, we'll call it 3rd and 3 upcoming for Detroit.
Again, one of these manageable 3rd downs that is really a test for a young quarterback. They're going to take Calvin Johnson away. You're going to want to go to him in this situation. The Redskins know that. They're going to make you show them that Brandon Pettigrew, that Kevin Smith, maybe Larry Bryant on the backside can make a play for you.
It's Calvin Johnson in motion. Stafford in trouble. Still on his feet. Throws and a drop by Will Heller. That would have been a first down at the 25. There is a flag on the far side of the field. So we will wait to hear from Scott Green on this. This is a big call, especially if it's against the Redskins defense.
Well, even though he bailed out to the right, he may have done so because of some illegal contact by a DB on the left-hand side, at which point that's who the flag's going to be on.
Offensive pass interference, number 82, blocking downfield. That's a 10-yard penalty.
It's Casey Fitzsimmons. Lions like to use 3 tight ends. We've seen Pettigrew, Heller on the drop. Would have been negated anyhow on the infraction against Fitzsimmons.
I'm a little surprised that, although they must feel like they're clearly within field goal range, for Jason Hanson, one of the best in the league, sitting there at the 32-yard line. So I'll backtrack on that. I'm getting pretty good at that. I get to do that up here and out on the field. But with Jason Hanson, the franchise player for the Detroit Lions, that's clearly within his range. Even though you're going to get him another shot on 3rd down, you don't want to give him what should be automatic points indoors by Jason Hanson.
3rd down at 13.
Well, slow limping off the field is Cornelius Griffin. In his 10th season out of Alabama, came over, of course, as a free agent from the Giants 6 years ago, and has been a good, solid player for the Redskins.
Now, this is also a test for the Lions offense and for young Matthew Stafford. Points at a premium. Yeah, you want to get the first down, but also you need to get us well past the 35 to take another shot at the field goal. So #1 priority, get the first down. There's going to be somebody at the sticks, but have your second guy in a position where I can catch and run with the ball to give me a reasonable chance at a field goal.
Well, you mentioned Jason Hanson has been among the best for nearly 20 years and still has plenty of leg. But 3rd and 13, they need to get to the Washington 29 for a first down. Stafford looking around. He'll keep it. And he has a first down to the 21. How about that? Threaded his way through the duo of Andre Carter and Brian Orakpo. A 22-yard run by Stafford.
Young quarterback, not necessarily an athletic quarterback, but certainly capable of this. Got to squeeze the pocket. Someone's got to eye that quarterback. Looked like possibly a man coverage. That means everybody down the field has got their back to the quarterback, and that's why you're 1st and 10 on the 21-yard line.
And of course, that was after taking the penalty rather than declining the penalty. So Stafford to the end zone. Touchdown, Brian Johnson. Second career touchdown pass by Stafford. The first touchdown catch as a Lion for Brian Johnson.
Simple as a screwdriver. Your favorite route, Tom, the fade route. Just down, obviously like the matchup. Put it up high. Very catchable for Brian Johnson. Had the size matchup that they wanted. They've got big receivers. Brian Johnson 6'2". Calvin Johnson's a good 6'4".
Now the point after by Jason Hanson out of the Nick Harris hold. the Don Mulbach snap. All good. What a drive by Matthew Stafford and the Detroit offense. 99 yards, 13 plays. Capped off on the 21-yard touchdown pass to Johnson. Of course, Jim Zorn, you liked the decision. You said it at the time, and I know you still feel that way about taking the penalty rather than declining the penalty.
With Jason Hansen sitting there, you know he was going to make that field goal. The odds are in your favor. He'll be second guessed for it, and I don't think he should be.
Rock Cartwright from the 2. And he's out to the 25-yard line. Campbell and the Redskins get the football for the second time. Clinton Portis nowhere to go.
Tom, you know I love the emotion of this game and how you regulate the emotion. This is a Redskin team that marched down the field, came up short on the 1-yard line. Now an 0-18 Detroit Lion just shoved it down your throat for 99 yards. This is a series that you've got to emotionally respond to if you're the Washington Redskins.
A loss of 2 on the Portis carry. And this is Fred Davis in his second year out of USC. One of 3 receivers drafted in the second round by the Redskins last year, along with Devin Thomas and Malcolm Kelly. The trio combined for just 21 receptions total last year. They're expecting big things from Davis, who grew up just down the road in Toledo, Ohio.
And Jim Zorn talked about his excitement for getting the ball in the hands of Davis, who he says is one of their best at making yards after the catch. That he has a nice knack for it. And you're exactly right. Those 2 second-rounders, really the 3 second-rounders, have got to start living up to all the potential that they had when they were all drafted by the Redskins.
Well, that will be the final play of the opening quarter. We begin the second quarter at Ford Field in Detroit, Michigan, where the Detroit Lions, who have lost 19 consecutive games, have a 7-0 lead. Campbell just throws it into triple coverage, and he's lucky it wasn't intercepted. Under heavy pressure from Jason Hunter, who hit him just as he threw the football.
Well, he was under heavy pressure, as you're going to see here. This is a tough pass to throw when you can't throw this on the proper timing. Has to step up and then gets a guy, hits the arm. So obviously the trajectory of the ball kind of bounces up. Those are the kind of ball just hangs up there forever as a coach. It doesn't seem like it's ever going to come down.
Of course, Hunter was applying the pressure, and then Dwayne White got a piece of Campbell's arm. Should have been intercepted by Anthony Henry and taken for 6 the other way.
This is something that Jason Campbell has been outstanding at, not throwing interceptions. He went 7 or 8 games last year. There again, he comes out here. Quick little play fake to hold the linebackers. Kind of throws it blind. Doesn't have a chance to see where the corner is. That should have been a pick 6 the other way. Jason Campbell dodged the bullet there.
Now, Campbell went 271 consecutive passes during that stretch last year without an interception. Third and 10. They're coming after Campbell. He rolls, throws. Very close to a first down, depending on where they spot it on the catch by Moss. Well, this is going to be very interesting here. From where we sit, they look to be about a foot, maybe 6 inches away. And it is short. On comes the punt team.
Boy, this is where the emotions of a struggling team on the Washington sideline. Jim Zorn, first instinct, because Jim Zorn's the head coach and the play caller. I'm sure the offensive guy in him thought, let's go for it. Let's get the first. But wisely, the head coach said, hold on there, pal. Let's punt this thing.
Hunter Smith puts a foot on it. And a fair catch signaled for. Look at the first quarter numbers. Very impressive offensive numbers for the Detroit Lions. Very well balanced.
Well, look at the rushing yards for the Redskins. That's something that's got to be corrected. That does not bode well for them. That does not improve.
Stafford and the Lions went 99 yards on their last scoring drive. And a big hole Opens up for Kevin Smith, and he's out to the 24. Smith off to a great start. In week 1, he rushed for a total of 20 yards on 15 carries against New Orleans. Much better numbers last week, 83 yards against Minnesota.
Yeah, and this is the balance we talked about earlier. This is exactly the game that Detroit wants to play. They went 99 yards, 95 ought to be a piece of cake.
Bryant Johnson, and he's dragged down at the 31-yard line. That'll be a gain of 6 on first down. You talked about the momentum. I thought it was a great point you made. The last time the Redskins got the football, they picked up 1 first down. That was it. They were lucky. They weren't intercepted for a touchdown the other way. And now here comes Detroit starting another drive inside their own 10 and off to a good start. Smith dragged down by London Fletcher. 3rd and 2 upcoming for the Lions.
London Fletcher, how impressive a young man is he to sit and visit with? The guy, undrafted free agent, 12 years ago, and been with a couple of different teams, but what a great player. Look at the longevity here. Now you see quarterbacks on this, obviously the rules there to protect it. A linebacker that's on this list with the the physical demands that position has, that's impressive.
They pitch it to Smith. First down and more. Caught from behind by Andre Carter. But not before a gain of 15 by Smith.
Well, we heard a great quote last week, guys, if you remember, that momentum increases as opportunities are seized. Jim Mora told us that last week with Seattle, and that's exactly what Detroit's doing. They're seizing the opportunities, and you can just feel the momentum that they've got going right now.
So 53 rushing yards already for Smith. Stafford looked like he may have lost the grip of the football. There is a flag on the play. And we'll see if this is pass interference against the Redskin defender.
Fred Smoot in the nickel.
Illegal contact. Defense, number 27. 5-yard penalty. Automatic first down.
Evidently got his hands on him a little bit as he was running that crossing route here. You can see it coming from the other side. Nope, gave him a little in move right in there. Down the field contact, past the 5-yard bump area. Can't put your hands on him. That's what he's being told right now. You know better than that. You can't put your hands on a guy after the 5 yards.
Maurice Morris slips off the left side for a gain of 4. Tom Brady, outside of the final 5 minutes in that thrilling season opening win for New England, has really struggled coming back from a knee injury which knocked him out in week 1 for the remainder of the year last season. 2nd and 7. They're coming after Stafford. And it's incomplete. He had an eye on Calvin Johnson, who has still not caught a pass so far today.
Well, this is a league of, every coach will tell you when he's hired, you got to stop the run and you got to be able to run the ball. And when you look at these numbers right here, we got a long way to go, but this got to concern you as a coach. They don't have the balance, Washington I'm talking about, that obviously Detroit has.
Third down. Stafford throws a bullet into the arms again of Bryant Johnson. Crosses the field and is run out of bounds at the 18-yard line.
This is a shot. This is not an easy throw, and he hit him flat in stride, allowing him to not break stride, get around the perimeter of the defense. That was an outstanding, accurate throw by Matthew Stafford.
Stafford has hit on 7 of 13, 87 yards, including the touchdown pass to Brian Johnson. And now they're knocking on the door again. Smith. Boy, is that athleticism. Both feet came to a complete stop and then broke it off to the left for a sizable gain. We'll call it 6.
And that's what the great backs have, that ability to accelerate from a dead stop.
Of course, no one did it better than a fellow who wore number 20 here in Detroit for so long.
Well, it's one thing to stop and go. It's another to stop and go 360 degrees at 0 to 90 in 0.2 seconds. I played Barry Sanders for 8 years when I was in Minnesota, and you end up watching him from the sideline half the time.
Play action. Calvin Johnson, and that throw is too tall for him. And that's saying something.
And again, same kind of throw we talked about a minute ago, Tom, that he threw to Brandon Pettigrew. Just too flat. You've got a big target like Calvin Johnson. He's going to win the jump ball. Just put up a free throw. Give him a chance to go up. That flat ball is all or nothing. Give it a little air. Trust Calvin Johnson, because not many people have the same vertical jump he has. Take a little off it.
Is that the hardest throw for a guy coming out of college into the NFL?
It is, and part of it's trust. You got to, and how do you not trust Calvin Johnson? But to know, just put it in the area. The great ones will just put it in the area, trust their receivers, and he's got a receiver he can trust.
Back with the coach, Brian Billick, Tom Brenneman in Detroit, not suggesting panic is setting in, but certainly the body language not very good on that Washington sideline right now.
No, 2 challenges. Washington, don't get into panic mode. How do you stave that off? Detroit, can we seize the momentum and maintain it if we come away with a 10 or 14-point lead?
3rd down at the Redskins 14. It's 3rd and 5. Stafford is sacked back at the 20. Albert Haynesworth was there, and he is still not up. Haynesworth's been limping around on and off the field.
Well, and that was the one concern when they signed Albert Haynesworth. There was no question about his talent, but there were those that questioned putting that kind of money into a player that has an injury history and only gives you so many snaps on a given year.
Albert Haynesworth has really put very little, if much, weight at all on that right foot. Don't know if it's the foot, the ankle, the knee, but now he's going to need some help as they bring the cart onto the field. That's not a good sign, obviously, for the Redskins. Let's take a look at some of the early numbers around the NFL. We told you about New England. Out to the 10-3 lead over Atlanta. That's a good game. Minnesota 10-7 over San Francisco. Frank Gore was carted off the field the first play from scrimmage for the 49ers. Tennessee, which lost 3 games all of last year, has started this season 0-2. And the Titans trail against the Jets, of course, who are unbeaten. Giants out to a 14-0 lead. Green Bay shutting out St. Louis. Philadelphia 21-7 over Kansas City in 2 other games. Baltimore 13-0. Your old team, Coach Billick. You won a Super Bowl title there in Baltimore.
Oh, the way they're playing now, they may get another one. They're answering every challenge. They are an impressive team right now. This concerns you. I tell you, when you get an ankle or knee injury, and you hope Haynesworth can come back, if not this game, next week. For a big man like this, that's hard to overcome during the course of the season. That's a lot of weight on those joints.
Well, you certainly hope he's going to be all right. An update from New England. The Falcons have tied up the Patriots at 10. This will be a 39-yard field goal try for Jason Hanson, who's 4 of 4 so far this season and has been among the best in the history of the game. And the beat goes on for Hanson. Matthew Stafford and the Lions have been down this trail before, jumping out to a 10-0 lead. You may remember they led the Vikings last week 10-0 and then were blitzed the rest of the way. And Jim Schwartz talked about this team needs to learn how to finish a game and add on a lead.
Well, this team has a lot of lessons to learn, and that's going to be a big one. Can you maintain a lead momentum, particularly at home?
Rock Cartwright from the 2. And out to the 23-yard line. This becomes a critical offensive series for Jason Campbell and the Redskins with 8:23 to play in the second quarter.
And on the Redskins sideline, Jim Zorn, no coach is ever going to talk about being panicked. But there's the old saying that the man that can keep his head about him while those about them are losing theirs maybe doesn't understand the situation. I mean, there's got to be a sense of urgency for this team of, guys, we've lost control of this game. We've got to get it back.
Well, they've only run the football 4 times so far in this game. Still 4. Campbell steps up, incomplete, throwing into double coverage. That's a tough throw to make right there by Campbell.
And that lack of running game, I can promise you right now, Jim Zorn, who is the play caller, just doesn't feel in rhythm, and certainly his team doesn't. They haven't been able to sustain other than that opening drive, and so you can't get that rhythm as a play caller. You feel like you always come up a little short, so now you start pressing. So it's that type of rhythm on this drive in particular. Once they get a first down now, they've got to find that running game a little bit to create that rhythm.
On second down, they give it to Portis, and he is dropped immediately back at the 20-yard line by Grady Jackson in his 12th season out of Knoxville College.
3-yard loss on the play.
And this is what I'm talking about. No one can feel like they're in any kind of rhythm. You know, Jason Campbell, 7-11, good numbers. Liddell Betts, 1 rush for 2 yards. That balance that you've got to have, they just don't have that right now. They got to convert on the 3rd and long.
3rd and 13. Very close to a first down. Again, it depends on the spot, and it looks like they're short. Now, whose fault is that? I mean, we've had the last 2 third downs where Santana Moss caught a ball a foot shy of the first down. Cooley catches the ball a foot shy of the first down. That can't be on Campbell and Jim Zorn.
No, and you saw Cooley smash his hands on the ground. He knows he came up short. You rely on your receivers to get to the chains. And that's all Jason Campbell can do is deliver a ball at the right time to the guy that's open. That's clearly on Cooley.
Good punt here by Hunter Smith, chasing Northcutt back to the 10. And cuts it upfield and tiptoes his way out of bounds. At the 33-yard line, there is a penalty flag down all the way back at the 11-yard line. 59-yard punt, 23-yard return, but we'll see if this is coming back. Block in the back, it looks like.
During the return, illegal block in the back, number 24. Half the distance to the goal. First down. Timeout.
If you just looked at these numbers, you would assume the Redskins were in pretty good shape. They're down 10-0. Detroit, each of its 4 drives have started inside its own 15. This is the 3rd in a row to start inside the 6.
Good thing is nobody's panicked. They've been down here the whole game.
It's Manny Ramirez, the left guard.
Ball start. Number 63 offense. Half the distance to the goal. First down.
Manram getting an early start. Must have cut off his hair since he left the Dodgers.
They talked about having Ramirez in because he's a more physical player. Looking at that, they got that right. That's a physical looking dude right there.
First down carry. Kevin Smith out to the 9-yard line. Of course, Jim Schwartz, you get a chance to be a head coach in the NFL for the first time. Oh, but by the way, the team that you're taking over did not win a game. Second down, they'll stay on the ground again, and not much yardage, but that wasn't the only change. There were others. 3rd down and 5. Stafford, good protection. What a catch made by Calvin Johnson. And that is good enough for a first down. By the way,
now again, This accuracy of Matthew Stafford, I'm nitpicking here because the young man's playing very well. But that's the kind of thing that can cost you. That needs to be a more accurate throw. Great catch by Bryant Johnson. But that might have cost you, and you would have then had to punt out of the shadow of your field goal. So this is the kind of accuracy thing that obviously Matthew Stafford still has to work on.
Stafford to Smith, who escapes one would-be tackler. And he's chopped down out at the 27-yard line, close to another first down.
Now, defensive coordinator for the Redskins, Greg Blosh, talked about he felt like Matthew Stafford stared things down a little bit. I'm not seeing it. He scanned the field there, came off to what had to be his third or fourth choice in that progression. I don't see it so far in the young rookie. I think he's playing a complete game right now.
Maurice Morris, good play made by Reed Doughty coming up from the strong safety position. That'll be a loss of 3 and another third down for Stafford and the Lions. They say Doughty's playing his best football. Of course, he lost a lot of last year due to injury and illness. In fact, he lost his job to Chris Horton. But Doughty playing good football for the Redskins.
Well, they're constantly going to build that proverbial 8-man box. The Redskins are all about that, whether it's bringing down Horton or Doughty into the front seven of the defense.
Third down, catch by the big fella Pettigrew. He fumbled the football and then covered up by Dennis Northcutt. And another Detroit first down. Of course, you never say it's perfect, but this is as close to perfect as Detroit can play.
Here you can see the tight end coming from Pettigrew, as I told you earlier. Big body, great sweep spot. And you got to have a special relationship with your tight end. Matthew Stafford, it's different than throwing to a wideout. You're not open as much. It's close quarters. You really have to develop a relationship. These are two first-round draft choices came in together. They're going to develop that relationship for a long time to come.
Maurice Morris wrapped up by Carter after a gain of 3. 2:30 to play until halftime. The Lions have 1 timeout left. Of course, you have the stoppage at the 2-minute warning. Are you surprised they're not picking up the pace a little bit here right now?
No, they've got total control of this game right now. You may see them pick it up once we get to the 2-minute warning. That may be a waste of a few seconds here, but you're in control of the game. I don't know that you want to give that up right now, all but with a young quarterback. You might see them go into a no huddle after the 2-minute warning. They're in pretty good position to get in position at the very least for 3 points.
Hey, before we get any further along, we'd like to thank Robert Yanagi, the director of the Lions video operations, for providing us with that footage of the Lions practice facility we shared with you a moment ago. Robert, great job. Thanks. First down, 2-minute warning, and they hand it off to Aaron Brown on second down. Somewhat of a surprising call there.
Well, they're not going no huddle, but they've got to pick up their pace. They're within striking distance with the right calls to get into field goal. And okay, if you're not going to no huddle, then you got to pick your pace up a little bit.
You know, a lot of times you see that time of possession, and it can be the most overrated stat in football. But after watching Indianapolis the other night, who barely had the ball at all, but every time they scored, it took about a minute and a half, beating Miami.
Yeah, and that's not the game we're seeing right here. Unbelievable time of possession, total domination, really. You really can't describe it any other way.
That timeout was taken by the Redskins, so the Lions still have 1 more to go. This is a third down, and Stafford across the middle finds Bryant Johnson down to the 37.
You got to hustle up and kill it, or run a play at the line of scrimmage. Got plenty of time to get a play call here. You're about 5 yards, 4 yards away from solid field goal position. That becomes the first priority. and then you think about a touchdown.
1:25 to go until halftime. Stafford works out of the shotgun and gives it to the rookie Aaron Brown. And he's inside the 30, down to the 29. Clock at 1:15.
Well, you got lots of time here. You don't have to be panicked. You have more than enough time to get some shots to the end zone if you want it. You're clearly in field goal position. That's the #1 priority for this young quarterback now. Don't do anything to take yourself out of field goal position and take points off the board.
Stafford lays it off for Brown, and he doesn't get out of bounds. A nice tackle again made by Doty. The clock continues to run. And now it stops. Not sure why. Maybe Detroit. Yep, it'll be their final timeout.
And you can do one of two things in this situation. You can kill the ball, burn the down with 49 seconds, or use the timeout. All that means now is that as you orchestrate your drives getting down to what could be eventually your 4th down call for the field goal, you've got to leave yourself enough time to run your field goal team on, or obviously throw a pass that will kill the clock. So it does limit your play calling options for 2nd and 3rd down.
Scott Linehan, the former head coach of the St. Louis Rams, said, look, all the tools are there for Matthew Stafford, but he's got to do it by leading on the field. That means production, making plays, and he's a big believer in Matthew Stafford.
And he has done that today. This is a nice little 2-minute drive here, or end of the half drive, that starts to build that rep, that leadership credentials that we're talking about.
Calvin Johnson in motion. They fake it to him. They roll out right. Stafford looking across the field and throws incomplete. Just threw it away.
Smart play. Waited. He was out around the perimeter. Waited for the last minute. Does somebody shake loose? No, I'll throw the ball away. This shows good leadership. That shows he has awareness of what we talked about earlier. I am not going to take points off the board. 3 points here makes this a 2-score, 2-touchdown game for the Detroit Lions. Would be huge going at the half with a 2-score differential.
A 12-play drive leading to a touchdown. An 11-play drive leading to a field goal. This is the 14th play of this drive. Pump fake for Brian Johnson and broken up by Fred Smoot. That's good coverage.
And a good throw. Kind of a back shoulder throw. We saw earlier the ball being too flat, Tom, and talked about how he needed to give it a chance to be a catchable ball. That was a catchable ball. Got a player down.
Well, look at the 3rd down conversion rate. We talked about how poor Detroit had been in that category the first 2 games of the year.
That's Brian Arakipo down, Tom, their 1st-round draft choice.
An injury in the last 2 minutes requires a timeout being charged. That's Washington's 3rd.
Arakpo, the rookie out of Texas, won the Lombardi, Nagurski, and Hendricks Award last season. Washington, because of the injury in the final 2 minutes of a half, is charged with a timeout on the injury.
Now you've got plenty of time in this call. You can run the ball if you choose, because you have more than enough time to run what we used to call a bingo field goal team, which simply says you have to have more than 18 seconds. If you got more than 18 seconds, you can run whatever play you want, and your field goal team has plenty of time to run up, get in field goal position, and kick it. So with 36 seconds, you don't have to throw it to kill the ball, kill the clock, because you have no timeout. You can run anything you want. Not that a run here on 3rd and 10 is the thing to do, but if you want to do that thinking they're going to be in a passive defense, you're free to do that. So they have all the options they want here.
Well, they have Aaron Brown in the backfield alongside Stafford.
The backfield. They're going to take a shot.
Yep, they'll empty out. Stafford, catch by Pettigrew.
Got to get up and kill it. You've got a 1st down. Get up and kill the clock. He's yelling, kill, kill, kill. Everybody's got to get set. Nobody moves.
All right, 20 seconds left. All right, let me go back now to your coordinator days and your head coaching days more specifically. Do you go ahead and run a play here?
Here's your options. You can continue to take your 1st down. You can take probably at least 2 shots to the end zone, but it's got to be all or nothing. If you complete the ball short or run it here, you've got to run your field goal team on there. If you throw it out of bounds, you have shot time for another play, but it's got to be all or nothing because you will then not have time to run your field goal team on. So we'll see what they do here. You can run it if you want here. This is still an option for them.
They throw it to Northcutt. And he comes back to the middle of the field dancing around. Now the question is, can they get up to the line of scrimmage in enough time to kill this thing?
Yeah, you got to get up and kill this thing now. And they'll have plenty of time to do it.
Down to 4, 3, yep, 2 seconds.
And the down and distance gave you that latitude, Tom. That's what I was talking about. He could have taken an end zone shot. He could have handed it off or thrown that ball. Had he got down quicker, you could have run your field goal team out. But he took a while to get down. But because you have the down and distance, you had time to kill the clock. Very well orchestrated. That's a lot of moving parts we just talked about. For a young quarterback, he orchestrated it beautifully. He gets kudos for having done that just right.
Stafford has had a spectacular first half. I mean, you can't have worse field position than they have had this entire game. 26-yard field goal try is good. The Redskins are going to get the football to begin the second half, trailing 13-0. Quite right from the 1. Crosses the 20 and out to the 27-yard line. The numbers are staggering from the first half. Look at the balance offensively for Detroit. Lions have run for 116 yards, not a single yard rushing for the Redskins.
And that leads to the bottom line. 22 minutes time of possession to 8. That's that lack of balance, lack of rhythm. Really, Washington's just got to put the game plan in your back pocket, and you need a single drive here. That's all the focus is. Give me one single scoring drive, and we're back in.
Flag down on the handoff to Clinton. Portis picks up 3 yards, but will wait on the penalty.
Illegal motion, offense, number 12, 5-yard penalty, first down.
Malcolm Kelly.
Yeah, now you start the drive over. You're 1st and 15. Just it snowballs downhill. That little bit of focus. A wide receiver lining up wrong on a running play. It just, as a coach, it drives you nuts.
I'll give credit to the Lions defense in the first half. We've talked so much about their offense. Their defense has played tremendously well through the opening 30 minutes. 1st and 15. Portis cuts it back to the inside, and a good gain on first down out to the 35. That'll be a gain of 13 yards by Clinton Portis, by far the longest run by a Redskin today.
And they'll continue to press this running game to take control of the game physically and emotionally. And likewise, you'd expect to see Gunther Cunningham and that Detroit Lions defense to hit. They've already got it. They've dropped the safety down in the box. Solid 8-man front. Right in here.
Moss, a first down to the 43. So there's a first down. A good way to get it started for the Redskins. Gunther Cunningham, you just said his name, is 28th year in the National Football League. Former head coach for 2 seasons with Kansas City. Boy, do we enjoy our visit with him.
I learned all the language I've ever learned from Gunther Cunningham, and it's cost me a lot of fine money.
Campbell to a wide open Santana Moss. He streaks down the sideline. Touchdown, Santana Moss. And that's the way to start the second half for the Washington Redskins.
Clearly had to be a broken coverage here. Desperately needed by Jim Zorn and the Washington Redskins. That's one way to not have to make a red zone call, right, Tom? Score from the outside. And that's what you're capable of doing with Santana Moss. Jason Campbell delivering the ball to the outside. Boy, this gets them back in the game. Now the challenge goes to the Detroit Lions. A little adversity. The game's been your way the whole game. You got to love the emotional ebb and flow of this game.
Point after is good by Sean Sweezum. Longest play from scrimmage this season by the Redskins, 57-yard touchdown throw. Campbell to Moss. You said one good drive. That's a good drive.
That's a good drive, and quick.
Squeeze him, kicks it to a waiting Aaron Brown from the 4. Cuts it back to the inside and out to the 25. 13-7, Detroit in front. And the Lions get the football for the first time in the second half. It's by far their best field possession and field position on any drive thus far today. Kevin Smith. Let's go back to the touchdown throw. What happened?
Well, you'd think the corner would have the deep third responsibility. We're going to see as it runs here. You got Anthony Henry at the corner. He doesn't carry the receiver, but he thinks right here he's expecting over the top help, but the receivers are swabbing it out deep, leaving the underneath zone or the over the top zone for Santana Moss. So a well conceived play. Obviously Anthony Henry thought he was getting help over the top. Nice job clearing out. Touchdown Redskins.
Empty backfield for Stafford on second down. Will Heller is chopped down close to a first down by Dowdy. And it looks like with a spot that's good enough to move the chains.
No, looks like they're yeah, if nothing else, their third down conversions would have been key to the game here. Redskins defense now, obviously whatever game plan they thought they had for Matthew Stafford, they got to change up here a little bit because it hasn't worked so far.
And they're going to have to do it without Albert Hainsworth, who left with a right hip injury and has not returned so far. Bouncing it to the outside is Smith, and what a collision. He goes toe-to-toe with LaRon Landry, one of the rising stars in the NFL. There you get a look at Hainsworth just now, ever so slowly making his way out of the Redskins locker room, and it doesn't look like he's in a hurry to get back on that field.
No, that's not a healthy young man right there. I don't think we're going to see him the rest of the day.
Second down, play action, pump fake, and going for the bundle, looking for Calvin Johnson. He caught it. There's a flag now. First catch of the day by Calvin Johnson, goes for 58 yards.
Well, LaRon Landry, the free safety, was on the play. Somebody pushed somebody. We're going to find out who.
Again, Scott Green, our referee today.
Interference, offense, number 81. 10-yard penalty. Still second down.
So negate that 58-yard completion to Calvin Johnson.
As we get to the top of the play, you can see Calvin Johnson on LaRon Landry. The ball, see right there, that little shove. And he really didn't need it. And it wasn't so much the arm. You always tell the receiver, don't extend the hand. You can get away with an arm bump, but it's that extended hand that the official's going to see every time. Didn't need it. The little arm shiver right there would have been enough, but that extended hand is what got him called.
It's a good call by the officials. So that'll back him up all the way to the 29-yard line. Second down and 16. Smith to the 36.
Well, it's not just the fact that there's a penalty, it's the loss of the big play. This is the kind of psychological thing that Detroit has to overcome. They've worked themselves back into a workable third down, all but a 3rd and 9.
It's nearly a 70-yard differential of where they would have been. Stafford to Smith. Spins off one tackle, but has dropped short of the first down. So the Redskins stand tall after taking advantage of the offensive interference flag against Calvin Johnson, as Hainsworth
is actually on the field.
Is back in the game.
I question this. This is not a healthy player right now. And I understand the want, but I'm not sure he's not going to hurt his team if he can't function in there and move around better than what we're seeing right now.
The Redskins' first drive offensively, a touchdown. Defensively, as they're coming after the punt, they stop a Detroit drive. Fair catch made by Antoine Randall at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific here on Fox. Campbell flushed out of the pocket, and what a catch made out beyond the 30. Again, it's Santana Moss. That looked like a disaster right from the start. Instead, a big gain.
Yeah, he lucked out with the clean bounce here, coming right out of the play fake. I don't know how he lost the handle on it, but this is when things all of a sudden turn, life's good. That's the ultimate play fake for Chris Henry. He sees the ball on the ground. He's going to come up, allowing Santana Moss to get in behind him.
Campbell to throw on first down. Across the middle, it's Cooley. And that's close to another first down of the 45. Well, you go back thus far offensively for Washington. A very impressive drive to begin the game. They got all the way down to the 1-yard line, went for it 4th and 1. They were stopped. Punted the next 2. Then to start the second half, the big touchdown throw to Moss.
And in here is where they lost that rhythm, totally taken over by Detroit. They now appear to be back on target like that first drive.
Clinton Portis.
And this allows them to run the ball more, Tom. We had 0 yards rushing in the first half. They didn't have that rhythm. They are committed to wanting to run the ball. And if they can keep into a rhythm of the drive, we're going to see Clinton Portis crank it up here.
7:45 to play in the third quarter. Detroit a 13-0 lead at halftime. The Redskins have chopped that down to 6. Stopped just short of midfield is Portis. 3rd down and a little less than 5 coming up for the Redskins.
Well, Marquand Manuel came in very aggressively to build that 8-man box we talked about. Did it brilliantly, filled the hole, but now paid a bit of a price with it.
Well, he had to leave the game last week twice with an injury to each leg.
Fans, please direct your attention to the scoreboard.
We're back to Ford Field after this timeout. We talked about again what happened last week with Detroit racing out to a 10-0 lead over Minnesota, and then hammered the rest of the way. They jumped in front today, 10-0. So 3rd down, blitz coming and intercepted. Carl Simpson, 3rd-year safety out of South Carolina, and what a big defensive play that one is. Jordan Dizon applied the pressure to Campbell.
Well, you give Jason Campbell for sitting there under the pressure. Dizon coming right into his face. Can't see it here, but he gets right up in Campbell's face. Don't know that he even saw Simpson coming in from the inside.
Detroit first down and 10 at the Redskins 46.
Calvin Johnson in motion on first down. Smith is shot down at the 42-yard line. Chris Horton flying in to make the tackle. And Smith is still down. He got cut very low as Horton, it looked like, came flying in there.
Just drops the shoulder. Horton getting a great shot on the thigh. I don't know, right there. Looks like he landed on his shoulder.
We'll be back in a moment. Kevin Smith leaving the game with what appears to be an injured right shoulder. For the third time in his young career, he's eclipsed the 100-yard rushing mark in a game. And he will give way now to the rookie Aaron Brown, who replaces him. 2nd down and 6. Brown gets the ball and is scuffed at the line of scrimmage by Rocky McIntosh. A big 3rd down upcoming.
Well, they say that Brown has an additional speed on the outside, that's the key to his game. Be interesting to see. We'll watch and see if some of the play design or the play calling changes subtly to get him out on that perimeter.
Albert Hainsworth back in the game for Washington. And on 3rd down, Stafford is dropped from behind by Arakpo, who was shaken up earlier in the game. But the rookie makes his first career sack all the way back at midfield.
This is where he's at his best. In the nickel package, he's going to put his hand on the ground, just dip that shoulder and use that speed and athleticism to get around the corner. They say he's a complete player. He's got to be a legitimate linebacker, but that's his strength. Putting his hand in the dirt, particularly in 3rd down and coming off the edge.
Football is a funny game. 4 drives in the first half for the Lions, all starting inside their own 15. And they go on 3 long scoring drives. Their first 2 possessions here in the second half, they started from their own 25 and on the other side of midfield and come away with nothing. Wow. What a hit as Randall L. crossed the 15-yard line, and a flag is down on the play. Jerome Felton was involved in that collision.
During the return, illegal block in the back, number 31, receiving team, half the distance to the goal, 1st down.
And you've got to give the Washington defense credit for stepping up a turnover. They're on a short field. They've not played particularly well all game, and step up in a big situation now and basically go with a 3 and out for Detroit. So they stepped up to the challenge. Now we're going to find out, can the Redskins start a drive inside their 10-yard line and go the length of the field?
Sellers and Portis in the I formation, and Portis to carry, and Ploughs up to the 13-yard line. Some of the leaders offensively for the Redskins, a touchdown and an interception for Campbell. Very quiet on the ground. Moss has had a monster day. After starting this season, coming into the game the first 2 weeks, he had 5 catches. He's got 6 for 133 in this one. Portis again, and he tiptoes his way up to the 20, and that's a 1st down.
And you can see by the last 2 series their intent in getting Clinton Portis back into the flow, get that balance in their play calling, both run and pass. 2 good solid runs here, maybe a shot for a play action pass.
Campbell looking for Moss, and it's overthrown. Moss looking for a flag, didn't get it. Covered by William James, who's getting the start today for Philip Buchanan.
Same kind of throw that we jumped on Stafford for in the first half. A little flat. Give someone with Santana Moss's speed. He had gotten behind the defender. Give him a chance to run under the ball just a little bit. A little bit of a flat throw for Jason Campbell.
Liddell Betts checks into the backfield on 2nd and 10. Ball comes out of Campbell's hand, and he covers it up all the way back at the 12. And that is a fumble.
And you know, the ball just comes out. This happens to every quarterback. Whether he's not gripping it properly, whether the ball is slick, it just comes out. And then you come to the sideline, you give him one of those brilliant coaching comments like, don't let it come out next time.
Third and 18. They need to get to the 30-yard line to convert.
What they don't need to do is turn the ball over here.
Might be a free play. They lay it off for Liddell Betts. He's dropped to the 22. There is a flag down. I think it's early movement on Detroit. I think they're going to pick up 10 yards here and make it a 3rd and 8. It looked like Jason Hunter crossed the line of scrimmage before the snap.
Offside. Defense, number 97, in the neutral zone at the snap. 5-yard penalty, 3rd down.
5-yard penalty, I beg your pardon. Making it rather than 3rd and 8, it'd be 3rd and 13.
Which is still a hill to climb here. Obviously more manageable, but you got to be very careful about. They know how far it is for the 1st down. You don't want to throw this thing into coverage. Typically, it takes an underneath throw and someone running for the 1st down.
Redskins' problem is their receivers have not known how far the 1st down marker is.
Yeah, we'll find out and see if the Detroit defense knows.
That's a pass that Campbell would like to have back.
Yeah, a little hot. Little hot on the run going forward. It's understandable. Your momentum's going forward. Ball comes out of your hand just a little bit hot. Needed a more catchable ball for Santana Moss.
So the Redskins punt as Hunter Smith stands inside his own 5. Dennis Northcutt signals fair catch at the 28. No Kevin Smith. This time it's Maurice Morris who breaks it to the outside, cuts it back to the inside, and noses ahead out to the 33. London Fletcher is down for the Redskins, and now getting up on his knees and now up on his feet. Talked about London Fletcher, undrafted, coming out of John Carroll College in Ohio, grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. And not only the 179 consecutive games played, he's making his 138th consecutive start. Well, what a delightful young man.
What a great attitude in life. And you know, you talk about, you play with a chip on your shoulder. Do you know, overcome? No, he wanted no part of that. He said, no, that's just what it is. You embrace every opportunity you have, and one of the good young men in this game. Of course, 12 years in the league, I say young man. Everybody's young to me. But that for a guy that size, those number of starts just fathom me. For a linebacker, I mean, you as a quarterback, the whole league is geared towards protecting a linebacker. Other positions, the sheer collision points, offense and defensive linemen. Not that it's not a collision game, but the proximity to one another. But a linebacker, you're paid to blow someone up every down, and to have that many starts relative to those other players is incredible.
H.B. Blades, in his 3rd year out of Pitt, replaces London Fletcher. 2nd and 5. Dancing away from a defender is Calvin Johnson. He ran right around Carlos Rogers. Gain of 11.
That's one way to get your stud involved with the game plan. Just raise up and give him a little one-step smoke route. Get it in his hands. This guy's a phenomenal receiver. Andre Johnson in Houston, for my money, is the best receiver in the league right now. This guy has that kind of potential. But Johnson has Owen Daniels. He's got Steve Slayton to help him as well. We need to see these guys step up around Calvin Johnson and give him the same type of help.
Play action, looking down the field. And there again, too much on a line. If that has a little air under it, that is a huge gainer.
Just rushing himself a little bit.
Bring you up to speed on some of the numbers around the National Football League in the early game. Still a good one in New England. Likewise between the unbeatens in Minnesota. Just gave you an update on the Jets. Big lead for the Giants and the Eagles. And the Ravens rolling over Cleveland. Maurice Morris close to midfield. 3rd and less than 5 coming up for the Lions.
You know, Stafford continues to do little things. There you saw he had just thrown the play before, a little one-step smoke route to Calvin Johnson. Before he handed that ball off, he turned his shoulders, just gave the subtlest of nods to that little smoke route on the left side to then hand the ball off. That freezes the safety a little bit. He's doing some of the little things that you want to see him grow.
Third down and 5. Stafford throws, catch is made, but short of a first down by Calvin Johnson. And out comes the punt team. Detroit has not scored here in the second stanza thus far, and we're nearing the end of the 3rd quarter.
That's one of those throws where Calvin Johnson will go over to Matthew Stafford and say, hey man, you saw those 2 guys that were ready to blow me up? There's no way we were going to get this 3rd down. How about you maybe throw that one away? You know, those are the little things that he and Calvin have come to an understanding.
Not a particularly good punt by Harris. Only 32 yards and a fair catch by Randall L at the 15 in the final 12 seconds of the 3rd quarter. This one is shaping up to be a good finish.
Going to be a barn burner with 1-score game. Anytime it's a 1-score game, it's anybody's ball game. And right now, Washington's got to feel like they've dodged a bullet. Interception, short field, no points came out of it. Back on their own 15.
First down for the Redskins. Portis tries to cut it back to the inside, defended well by the Lions. And that will be the final play of the 3rd quarter. 2nd down and 10 for the Redskins from their own 15. The 4th quarter begins at Ford Field in Detroit. Incomplete 3rd and 10. Boy, you truly can feel the tension. Now, granted, we're in week 3. We're not talking about a playoff atmosphere here. It's not a sellout crowd. It's a good crowd. It's an enthusiastic crowd. But it's a Detroit fan base which has not seen its franchise win a game since December of '07. Meanwhile, for the Redskins, some of the most die-hard fans in the NFL did not score a touchdown in a narrow win against St. Louis, and they're trailing the Lions as we begin the 4th quarter today. Campbell will get a first down and then some. It's the first time they've converted a 3rd down in the game today.
Well, Jim Zorn talked about Jason Campbell running the ball more. He's a good athlete. Take advantage of that. Saw the right coverage, got outside the perimeter of the defense. You'll take a 3rd down conversion any way you can get it. A little more balance, as you can see here. Obviously, a little more Redskins, given the possessions that they've had. Being able to run the ball just a little bit better.
First down, give us to Portis, and a big gain up through the middle across midfield to the 48-yard line. Best run of the afternoon for Clinton Portis. A gain of 14.
You've got your lineman in that huddle right now going, run it again. Casey Rabach, the center, had with me in Baltimore. One of the better young centers in the league. Linemen love it when they can get into this smash mouth run game. They'd love nothing better than just run this ball right into the end zone.
Play action. infraction, flag down. Campbell throws, catch by Thomas at the 34. But we'll see if this one's coming back.
Holding, offense, number 61, 10-yard penalty, first down.
Yeah, you know it. The minute I give my boy a little pack on the back, he gets called right now. He's going, no way. No way to that. He probably been blocking the same way the whole game. And now, right now he's asking, why are you calling that now?
Robach, another one of those outstanding offensive linemen that played under Barry Alvarez at the University of Wisconsin.
You draft a lineman from Wisconsin, you know you're getting a good player.
The center never snapped the ball to Campbell.
Now this one will be interesting. Was it an encroachment? Did they move? If they crossed the neutral zone and the players responded to it, then
well, Grady Jackson came across that line of scrimmage quickly. I don't know if I've ever seen that, where everybody on both teams moved and the center never snapped the ball.
I'm not sure the way they're
Encroachment,
talking.
defense,
Yeah.
nose tackle, made contact, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
It's Grady Jackson.
What started the stampede once he moved and made contact. Casey got him a little bit by that head raise. That brought the nose tackle, and once he went, it was a jailbreak.
I think they meant to call that penalty on Landon Cohen. They said the nose tackle, and he was a nose tackle. Well, nonetheless. Back-to-back penalties brings us to 1st and 15. Campbell looking to Kelly in traffic, and no chance for a completion there.
Well, he's just looking again, a little bit of a flat ball, but he's counting on Kelly Malcolm's size at 6'4" and leaping ability. And when you talk about this young man, that's what you keep coming back to, is that athleticism, sheer athleticism, to maybe go up and make a play, because he was clearly covered.
Campbell has missed on his last 5 passing attempts. And flags litter the field.
Delay a game.
Yep.
Offense. 5-yard penalty. Second down.
You can read his lips. What is going on?
That one's on the offensive line a little bit. Obviously, Detroit was doing something with their front that caused Casey Robach, the center, to redirect the line. They had to go through their progression of calls very quickly. Jason Campbell was waiting for them to get through those calls and got called for delay of game.
So now 2nd and 15 becomes 2nd and 20. Batted down, defended beautifully. First time we've called the name of Julian Peterson today. 3-time Pro Bowler. Came over in a trade from Seattle during the offseason. Grew up in Temple Hills, Maryland.
Now he's all over the play here. You can see now he's got his hand on the receiver. But again, you got to remember, he did not significantly alter the path of the receiver. As long as you don't change that course, it is not a penalty.
Washington's only conversion on 3rd down was their last 3rd down on the long run by Campbell. 3rd and 20. And they just dumped it off to Betts. And he's at the 47, and Washington will punt it with 12:35 to go.
Well, this is just to bring it back to, I keep bringing it back to Matthew Stafford, and I don't mean to do that necessarily, other than the Detroit Lions are only going to be so good this year. You can't put this young man in enough learning situations tight game. This is almost better for them than if they'd been blowing them out. He's going to learn more from controlling this offense in a tight game.
.12:01 to play in Detroit. The Lions jumped out to a 13-0 lead at halftime. The Redskins scored on a 57-yard pass from Campbell to Santana Moss, their first possession of this second half. But quiet for both teams since then. Ball is loose, and it looked like Maurice Morris covered it up. That almost looked like he was getting ready to pitch it back to Stafford.
Well, they're in perilous territory here, Tom, because as well as they've played, and we talked from the outset about how they've got to come up with a win, to have played the way they have, and if something should transpire here, like that fumble, Washington gets the ball, scores, it could do serious damage to the psyche of this Detroit team. So this is a compelling last half to a quarter, because there's a lot at stake here.
The Lions are playing without Kevin Smith. And again, that's another missed chance by Stafford. He had a wide open Brian Johnson, and for the third time in this game, just not enough loft on that throw.
And he could have faded that to the sideline a little bit, just a little hot and high. The guy's got a great arm. He's got to learn to govern it just a little bit, a little more subtle. You remember a Bill Walsh in trying out a Phil Simms, who had a huge arm coming out, kept telling him, throw it softer, throw it soft. Phil said at some point, I thought I was just going to throw it underhand. But telling him, no, sometimes you just need to throw it softer. That's what Matthew Stafford has to do.
3rd and 15 for Detroit. Good protection. Stafford steps up and throws too tall for Brian Johnson. Another play could have been, should have been made.
He clearly had the drift behind the linebackers. There again, we keep seeing the same thing, and that's where the difficulty with the accuracy. In order to throw that flat over the linebackers, you make it an almost impossible catch for Brian Johnson. Give it that little loft. Just give it that little fadeaway jumper, just enough to clear the linebackers. He had an open receiver on the 3rd down depth.
So now Nick Harris punts from his own end zone, and the Redskins will get it back at the 11-minute mark in great field position, one would assume. That will nearly block in a very poor punt. Randall L., the fair catch. We began the day by asking the question, can they? Can the Redskins score inside the red zone? Could they score a touchdown? They didn't score in the first half. They scored to start the second half. Can the Lions end the second longest losing streak in the history of the National Football League? 19 straight losses. Can they win holding a 6-point lead, 11 minutes to go?
Continue to think they're going to crank Portis up here.
Play action to Portis. Campbell. Catch made by Mike Sellers. A very short game. Campbell under major pressure and is just now getting up.
Portis has been close to breaking out a couple really big plays. You'd like to think, and it's a match game. The defensive coordinator sits in a passive zone. You want to run the ball. When they bring the 8th man down into the proverbial defensive front, you want to throw the ball. They may have to play a little of that game, but for some reason I just think Clinton Portis is going to be the key to the Redskins getting this lead.
Portis gets it. He's dropped after a gain of a yard. Well, we talked about the Redskins. They have, just a phenomenal fan base, a rabid fan following, and of course their owner Daniel Snyder bought the franchise from the Cook family and has had a short leash with head coaches since buying the team. And Jim Zorn has heard a lot of heat from the fans and those in the press after a rather uninspiring win, but a win nonetheless last week.
But after a win, you can imagine what it would be after a loss to the Detroit Lions. Pressure coming on the outside. They get the ball out of his hands quick.
They do to Moss. And excellent. It's going to take away what would have been A punting situation. They had stopped Moss short of the first down.
And that's tough for a defender. You're just coming in to make a tackle. It's not like you purposely reach in and grab the face mask. It just happens. They're debating right now, is that what we actually saw? My guess is it is.
There's no foul on the play.
Oh.
The defender did not pull and yank the face mask.
And that's the question. Did he just graze the face mask? See if we get a look at it here. If he just brushed the face mask without pulling on it. Oh boy. Ah boy, that's if that wasn't a pull. Yeah,
granted, that's in slow motion.
Yeah, but still, it's still turned. Anytime you see that, that would take great presence by Santana Moss to know that, well, I'm going to turn my head to make it look like that. I think they missed on that one. Particularly since I'm interested in that conversation. Someone obviously thought they saw that.
That could prove to be a huge call in this game. A flag came in. It looked like a face mask on William James on Santana Moss, and they picked up the flag, forcing Washington to punt. Still a long way to go. 9 minutes and 10 seconds, and the Lions nursing a 6-point lead. And down goes Stafford. In the arms of Kedrick Golston. Let's go back to the call.
And this would add to my $75,000 in fines. My question, I understand if the face mask, if he grazes the face mask, that head turned. His fist was grasped around that face mask. They called it right. The guy with the best angle. I want to know what that conversation was by the officials, the other officials, that convinced him it wasn't. Because everything we just saw there, the jerk of the head, the curled up fingers, said that was a face mask.
Still no Kevin Smith. End around to Calvin Johnson, and he is short of the first down. That is an excellent play made in the open field by LaRon Landry.
Now they've been doing what we call this ghost reverse, where they bring him in motion and fake the reverse and give it to the running back. They've done it already 4 or 5 times, which means at some point you got to hand the reverse off here to have set that up. They've run it 4 or 5 times. They now finally hand off the reverse.
This might be the single most important third down of the game for Detroit. Now granted, we still have 8.5 minutes to go, but if you convert here, obviously you improve field position. You chew up a lot more clock with a fresh set of downs. And they're going to throw it. First down to the 33.
Go to your best player. Money on the line. Great play design by Scott Lanahan. Matthew Stafford understand. He knows. Again, the growth of a young quarterback. This is a pivotal play. I'm going to get the ball in the hands of the best player I have on my offense, and that's Calvin Johnson. Good play call by Scott Lanahan. Good execution, understanding the play by Matthew Stafford.
First and 10 at their own 33. And they're throwing on first down. What a catch by Johnson across midfield. Oh, is he an athlete?
And this is what you do. This is a great, we saw this route earlier. I think we had a pass interference on it, where it's just an inside out, a 3-level throw. It's a great way to break bracket coverage. Send 2 verticals and break to the outside, let him use his size.
6'5", 236 pounds.
That used to be a tight end. There used to be a tackle in this league. That's at one point.
Aaron Brown is in there for the injured Kevin Smith, who left with a shoulder injury and is not expected to return. We're under 7 minutes.
And I can't stress enough the time and the ball control of Detroit. You're talking about a touchdown. You conceivably 2 field goals, but really you're talking about a 1 score, a touchdown separation. Time is huge here. Obviously you come away with points. 3 points would be huge, but time of possession, you alluded to it earlier. Grind down this clock. This is what you do when you're a good football team with a 6-point lead.
looking and had a wide open Brian Johnson, who was looking for a flag on Carlos Rogers and didn't get it. There was definitely contact.
And that was a much better throw. We've been on him all week, all game long about too flat. Let's see if we get the contact late. That's an arm bar. That should have been called. You cannot lift your arm across the face of the receiver. That ball had much more loft that we've been calling for, Tom. That should have been a penalty. You cannot restrict the receiver, particularly with the arm bar across the shoulders like that.
Well, we said their last third down was their biggest third down. This one is even bigger. 3rd and 9. We approach 6 minutes. Stafford flush out of the pocket.
Oh, goodness.
Throws it up in the air for Brian Johnson. The flag comes this time. And the Lions are in business.
Matthew Stafford saw this as he broke contain. We'll get a shot of it here. He cannot get this ball out of his hand quick enough. Break and contain. Safety gets too far inside. Brian Johnson's just waiting and waiting for the ball.
Interference. Defense. Number 48. Ball be placed at the spot of the foul. First down.
That's a tough throw. You're going to the left, and you know I cannot get this ball out of my hand quick enough. You half want to just sidearm it because he saw what he had.
Brian Johnson is down. 6:10 to go. 1st and goal after the penalty for the Lions at the 1-yard line. Felton and Morris out of the I formation. They give it to Morris, and he loses a yard.
Well, you can see here, Tom, Jim Zorn is livid. He's yelling at the official. You can see it right there. He's playing the ball all the way. But when we look at the replay, and this is hard on the DB, he only turns his head at the last second. That's going to get called every time. Is that fair? I don't know. He's in decent position. He tried to turn to play the ball, but when it comes that late, it's going to get called every time, Tom.
2nd and goal. Calvin Johnson in motion. They pitch it to Morris. Back to the inside. Did he get in? Touchdown! Redskins are in major trouble.
We'll see what they do with 5:26, but let's think about these Detroit fans for a little bit. It has been a long time. They're not out of the woods yet.
Nope.
But it's been a long time since they have had this feeling. This has got to be great for this city.
Well, they're going to go for the 2-point conversion,
which obviously makes sense. You got a 12-point differential here. You can make it a full 2-score, 14-point lead with the conversion.
They have Morris in the backfield. Stafford looking around, still looking. Knocked down by Smoot. So the 2-point conversion try fails.
And you coach the quarterback, go down with your boots on that, because there's no downside to the interception. Don't like seeing it on your stats, but it's not like they can return it for no matter how prohibitive the odds. Just throw it up in here.
The longest losing streak in NFL history belongs to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 76 and 77, lost 26 consecutive games. What's interesting to note is the Buccaneers stretch lasted a grand total of 14 months. This Lions stretch has lasted 21 months. Get a look at the Ford family, owners of the franchise, and of course the Ford Motor Company.
Keep it in perspective, Matthew Stafford was not alive in 1977. Okay, so
he was a long way from being born, a decade.
So that's ancient history. They have lived it here. Even though he's new to it, I understand they got 31 of new players out of the 53, and we weren't here last year. But you've been living that 0-16 last year, the 18-game losing. You live in the community. You've been living it. This is real.
I mean, think about it for a minute. 20 months and 29 days. That's through last Sunday. So tack on another week for it officially. And again, it is not over yet. Still 5:26 to play.
John Jansen's feeling it. Kind of cast off from the Redskins last year. Longtime Redskin tackle. You got to know he's loving this on a personal level.
We do have 5:26 remaining. Cartwright from the 4. To the 28. It's tackled by Darnell Bing. Take a look at our game summary. Jason Campbell, over 200 yards passing, but 0 rushing yards in the first half. The Redskins never looked in sync in the opening half, except for their first drive when they failed 1st and goal to score any. Stafford has been sensational. He's not turned it over after throwing 5 interceptions in his first 2 games. And Kevin Smith, though injured, has rushed for better than 100 yards. Santana Moss has had a monster game for Washington. That catch out to midfield. Moss up over 150 receiving yards today.
And you can hear it now. Detroit's going to get in probably a form of prevent defense. And you know, it's going to be, well, why did they do that if this doesn't go well? It's all a tincture of time. Does Washington have enough time to dink and dunk like this down the field and come up with enough scores?
It's hard to understand right there how Betts, a guy that's been around for a while, you've got to get out of bounds right there.
Absolutely. That you've got to understand that the time is a factor here. Not for this drive, but for the next one.
Campbell to Betts. First down at the 35. And Campbell urging everybody to hurry up to that line of scrimmage. Mass substitutions made by the Redskins. Santana Moss is leaving the field. So too is Betts. 4 minutes to go. Campbell coming back to get it, making the reception is Antoine Randall L. Was he inbounds? No. Took a big lick from the rookie Delmas.
They'll be eyeballing this. This is a big enough play. Jim Zorn getting input from the box. Was he in? Was he out? Did he get both feet? Let's see if he gets those feet established. Comes right here into the end. Oh boy, I don't know that I don't challenge. Looks like he tipped the toe. He had control of the ball all the way out of bounds. Yep, here's the challenge.
Yep.
There's 2 elements to it, Tom. Did he get the feet in? And did he maintain control all the way to the ground? We'll look at that again. Clearly it looked like he had the feet in. It looks like he came up with the ball. We'll see if we have a view.
Washington is challenging the ruling on the field that it was an incomplete pass.
Let's see if we can get a look. There's no question he got both feet in. Can we see if there was any kind of movement on the ball? Here you can see coming up. We'll stop it right at the top. Watch it. The right toe tips right as he comes down. He's got the ball. It's the left toe down, right foot down, left foot down. Now, the question is right here, did he have control of the ball? He comes up with the ball firmly. Let's see if we can see here. I think we'll see clearly the feet. It was right toe, left foot. Looks like he has control of the ball. Did indeed that right foot. Now there, I don't know if that right foot, we'll have to see. We'll slow it down again. And again, the official will have all these looks. Let's see if that right toe, yep, the right toe was down. Both feet were down. He's got firm control of the ball. It did not move. This has got to be a catch.
You hear
Right
the word
toe,
use.
left toe, control the ball. That's a catch.
You hear the word used so frequently that you get sick of hearing it. But it's a word in the rule book about conclusive video evidence.
Well, I don't know how it's any more conclusive than that. And of course, part of that $25,000 or $75,000 in fines. I don't care for the replay and the peep show mentality. I'm long on record on that. I got fined $25,000.
Run that by me again.
Yeah. My daughter said the same thing. Because I said, Johnny Greer went in, stuck his head in there, and came out and did not have a conclusive look. And I said, for all I know, Johnny's in there looking at his grandkids. Because I'm looking up at the Jumbotron, and I forget what the play was. That was inbounds. That was a catch. We're going to see here what we come up with.
And Scott Green's going to tell us after checking in with our replay official, Ben Montgomery.
After reviewing the play, the receiver toe tapped both feet inbounds with possession of the ball. The ball will be spotted at the 20-yard line, first down. Washington is not charged with a timeout.
So evidently I'm not nuts.
Well, that's debatable.
And the best thing now is I can say all that and they can't find me. They can't get into my pocket anymore.
.350 to play. Washington after Detroit 20.
They got to score on top of 2 minutes, Tom. That's the key time factor right here. Whatever score they come up with.
Campbell steps up across the middle to Cartwright. Dragged down at the 12.
Now, ironically, this is just the part of the field that they've struggled with. And what interesting, these are calls coming from Jason Campbell now. This isn't orchestrated from the sidelines, part of your 2-minute sequence. These are calls he's going to come up with.
Nowhere close to the first down, so to bring up third down after the catch by Cartwright. The clock winds to 3:15.
Now, normally you'd want to make a more orchestrated third down call, but again, they know time's against them. This is 4-down territory. They get the first.
Randall L. cuts it back across the middle, is inside the 5. Clock at the 3-minute mark, under the 3-minute mark.
Again, Jason Campbell making all the calls here. This is Chris Cooley territory, or using the size of Kelly Malcolm. Kelly Malcolm up here to the right. Chris Cooley at the tight end on the same side.
Touchdown, Rock Cartwright. Right down the field goes the Washington Redskins.
And you give Jason Campbell credit. This is the most tense of situations. Orchestrating the calls in the red zone. Knew exactly what he wanted to go to. And now we got an interesting ball game.
Point after by Sweezum, just does sneak inside the right upright. So we said this game is not over. It was not over at the 5.5-minute mark as Campbell marches them quickly down the field, sticks it in the end zone. The Redskins have all 3 timeouts remaining and 2:36 on the clock. Brian Billick, is it an automatic onside kick here?
No, not with 2:36. That's what I was referring to. It's got to stay above 2 minutes. If it's under 2 minutes, even with the 3 timeouts, you might have to think about an onside kick. But above 2:36, you've got your timeouts, plus you got the 2-minute warning. So I do not think this is an onside kick situation. And I need to make sure that I do understand that it's Malcolm Kelly, not Kelly Malcolm. I'm looking at my sheets. I got to learn to juxtaposition those names. I apologize to Mrs. Kelly. But yeah, again, and that's why I said before, Tom, they had to get the score in before 2 minutes.
Right.
Because with 3 timeouts and the 2-minute warning, you've got plenty of time to put your defense in. Obviously, conservative play calling by Detroit. You got a chance, maybe with some timeouts in your pocket, to get the ball back and orchestrate another drive.
Well, Danny Smith, the Redskins special teams coach, they have their hands team, does Detroit. Up at the 40-yard line, should the Redskins try the onside kick. which they will not. And that leaves Northcutt all the way back by himself.
Come out.
He'll wisely take a knee.
He learned from that Buffalo New England game, didn't he? That they're all pushed up there for the onside kick. Just stay in the end zone, bring it to the 20.
First down.
Get your timeout called.
Immediately the timeout, so that took a grand total of 3 seconds off the clock. Again, we remind you, Kevin Smith, who through 3 quarters of this game had rushed for over 100 yards, at the end of a lengthy run fell awkwardly on his shoulder and has not returned in the game. So they don't have their primary cog at the running back position to try and chew up some yards in time. Play fake. Stafford rolls, throws. Beautiful touch on that completion to Wilhelm.
This speaks volumes about the faith that Jim Schwartz, Scott Lanahan have in Matthew Stafford, and how important it is to let this guy progress. Because in that situation, if you throw an incomplete, everybody and their mother is going to second guess you about throwing the ball. He knows what they just did. They said, we believe in you, go complete this pass. At 2:21, Tom, with 1 timeout left, if they conceivably run the ball here, they're going to call timeout. Detroit will run whatever play they choose to run, take it down to the 2-minute warning. Detroit converts on that 3rd down. The game is over under 2 minutes. That's what we're facing in the next 30 seconds or so.
Aaron Brown, and he just covers that thing with both arms, both hands, to avoid a turnover. Loss of a yard, 2nd down and 11, and the Redskins spend their final timeout.
So here again now, 2nd down play, just like the one we saw executed. Although to throw on this situation would be very much a surprise.
We welcome those of you watching New England finish off the Atlanta Falcons to go to 2-1 in a 26-10 win. The Falcons losing for the first time. Here we are 2 minutes and 17 seconds away from the Detroit Lions ending a 19-game losing streak, the 2nd longest in the history of the National Football League. Redskins are out of timeouts. Jerome Felton back to the line of scrimmage will wind us down to the 2-minute warning. The Redskins cannot stop the clock. Biggest play of the day thus far. Bring you up to date on our game summary. Stafford has had a brilliant game, the first pick in this year's draft, but he's got a 3rd and 10. And they're going to have him roll right, and he will be smothered, denied 1st down yardage. So the Lions will be forced to punt it away. We also welcome those of you watching Green Bay and St. Louis, where the Packers bounce back from last week's loss at home against Cincinnati and get a win. The Rams slip to 0-3. The Detroit Lions have not won since December the 23rd, 2007. 19 consecutive losses. They have a 19-14 lead with 1:15 and counting left. The 2nd longest losing streak in the history of the NFL, and Jim Schwartz says timeout. Clock stops with 1:12. Redskins are hoping to get the ball, but they are out of timeouts. Brian Billick.
Well, and Jim Schwartz is thinking about all the little things he's done now to change the culture of the Detroit Lions. changing up the locker room, the parking spaces, the weight routine, everything about training camp, but it's got to come to fruition in a win. This gives him, if they can hold on, a chance to build on that in a way that this organization hasn't felt for a long time.
Antoine Randall has returned 5 punts for touchdowns in his career. Angle toward the sideline, and we'll see where they spot him.
With no timeouts, all on Jason Campbell. Ball carriers have got to get out of bounds.
Campbell looking down the field. It's caught by Cooley, and he's to the 37. Under a minute.
And they'll give you these receptions in the middle of the field for the very reason we just alluded to. That clock's going to keep ticking. What they won't give you, or try not to give you, is the outside route where the receiver can get out of bounds.
Out of the backfield, Betts sprinting for the sideline and cannot go. They said he got to the sideline, and the Lions coaching staff and players are livid with that call.
Yeah, it looked like he maybe bounced his way out, but either way, you got to get back and regroup it now.
Ball at the 48.
Let's see if they bounce. It looked like he bounced his way out. Can't see there. Looked like the ball may have just broken the plane of the sideline.
Campbell guns it into Moss down to the 37-yard line. Again, Washington cannot stop the clock. Under 30 seconds to go. The Redskins need a touchdown. And they spike it, stopping the clock with 21 seconds. Let's go back to your days as a play caller. The field possession and position where they are now, basically call it the 35. What are you thinking about?
Well, all rules are off now. You're taking a completion anywhere you can get it. If you end up throwing the ball to the inside, this is second down. Conceivably, if it's a first down, you can come up and kill it. If they're short and it's a third down call, you've got to expend a call for the third down that gets you out of bounds, or this game is over.
Too high for Cooley, nearly intercepted. 16 seconds left.
Now, if you're the Detroit Lions with 16 seconds, you'll let absolutely anything get completed short of the first down depth.
If you think the last 23 months, 22 months have been long for the Lions, how long do you think those 16 seconds feel like right now?
Or how long this next week will be for the Washington Redskins.
Oh. But still time. Campbell dancing around. Incomplete. 9 seconds to play. And it is fourth down.
There again, you've got to see the Detroit defense configure themselves. Nothing along the sidelines. No shot to the end zone. They'll give you absolutely anything you want from numbers to numbers.
And you see they have 3 members of the secondary standing inside the 10. And the Lions call timeout.
Timeout, Detroit. This is their second charge timeout. 30-second timeout.
I'm not sure that the Detroit coaches aren't redeploying that defense just a little bit. You can see the anxiety building on this team. The way they were configured, they had way too many people shallow and in front of the quarterback. You've got to load up the outside zones, load up the end zone. Again, any catch from numbers to numbers, and the game is over with 8 seconds on a fourth down throw.
Again, December the 23rd, 2007 was the last time the Lions won a game. They're going to send in Calvin Johnson at 6 feet 5 inches tall to defend the end zone.
He's there for the jump ball, if indeed that's what they choose to do.
The Lions have a new logo, a new general manager, a new head coach, a new franchise quarterback. Do they have a win? 8 seconds remain. Pitch it again, and this game is over. The Detroit Lions, for the first time since December of 2007, can celebrate a victory in the National Football League, and the Ford family will rejoice.